Hello, English learners. Welcome back to English Pods. I am Leonardo.
Whoa! Good morning, students. And I'm Elizabeth.
Today, we are diving into something a little different, like really different.
Different good or different,
Oh, definitely different good. Today, we are exploring an essential topic for anyone looking to excel in English. All right, so ready to dive into better writing. And I don't mean like, just texting or something.
Yeah.
We're talking about really improving, like leveling up those English writing skills, no matter what you're, working on.
Yeah, you're so right. Writing is just such a crucial skill these days. I mean, whether you're just sending emails or putting together reports, or even if you're working on, that novel you've always dreamed of.
We've actually got some really cool resources for you today. We have articles from Marketing Pros, some tips from those online learning platforms, and we even have a personal reflection from an English teacher. So we're going to uncover some surprising advice along the way.
Oh, I bet.
For instance, did you know that there's a 6-word story attributed to Hemingway that perfectly captures like the power of being concise?
Oh, wow.
We'll get to that later. It's a gem.
I can't wait.
But I'm really interested to see how, all these different perspectives kind of connect.
Me too.
I think you'd be surprised at how many common threads there are when it comes to strong writing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Okay, let's unpack the first big idea from our sources. And a lot of them emphasize this idea of mastering the basics. Like, that's really essential.
It's true.
It's easy to get caught up in the idea of, like, using really fancy vocabulary or, like, these super complex sentence structures.
Yeah.
But really, the truth is that good writing, like, it all starts with just having a solid grasp of grammar,
Absolutely.
and spelling
Yeah.
and clear sentence construction.
It makes such a difference.
One source actually recommends the classic Elements of Style by Strunk and White. I don't know if you've ever encountered that one.
I have. Yeah. It's great.
It's a little dense,
It is a little bit.
but it's considered a must-have for everybody.
And I think, what they really emphasize well is the importance of active voice.
Oh, yeah.
Like using active voice just makes your writing so much more direct, and dynamic and engaging.
Yeah.
And I think that's, something that can really make or break a piece of writing.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, instead of saying the ball was thrown by the boy,
Right.
you say the boy threw the ball.
Exactly.
So much more impactful.
Yeah. So much more to the point.
To the point. Now, there's also, of course, so many great online resources, too.
Yeah.
Like, Grammarly,
Yeah.
the Grammar Girl podcast.
Love Grammar Girl.
You've ever listened to that?
I have.
I love that.
Yeah.
These can be incredibly helpful for catching, like, those little errors
Totally.
and just improving, like, your overall grammar.
For sure.
I use Grammarly all the time.
Me too.
It's a lifesaver, honestly.
Right.
But you're right. They're tools.
Yeah.
They're not replacements for actually understanding, like, the principles behind good writing.
Right.
It's kind of like using a calculator.
Yeah.
It can help you with the math,
Right.
but you still got to understand the concepts.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
You can't just rely on the calculator to do all the work for you.
It's so interesting. So many of the sources also emphasize the importance of reading.
Yes.
They're like arguing that reading is one of the most powerful tools for improving your writing.
It's so true.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah.
It seems so obvious.
It does.
But I think a lot of people, like, forget about how much reading can actually influence your writing.
Absolutely. I mean, it exposes you to all these different writing styles.
Yeah.
And it kind of helps you internalize good grammar without even realizing it. Like you're training your eye for what works and what doesn't.
I remember when I first started, getting serious about writing.
Yeah.
I would actually try to, like, imitate my favorite authors.
Oh, yeah.
Of course, I wasn't plagiarizing. But I would study their sentence structure,
Right.
their word choices,
Yeah.
how they build tension, humor. It was incredibly helpful.
That's a great approach.
Yeah.
It's not about copying, but it's about learning from the masters,
Yeah.
So if you're drawn to a particular author's work, take the time to kind of analyze why. Is it their humor? Is it their vivid descriptions? Is it their ability to, like, weave a compelling narrative?
Yeah, that's such a good point.
Figure out what makes their writing tick, and then see if you can incorporate those elements into your own work.
One of our sources uses this great example from Copyblogger about a band called Death, ironically.
Oh, wow.
And the article talks about how captivating the writing was, like how it just drew you in with the storytelling and the pacing, it wasn't even really about the topic itself. It was about how the writer presented it.
That's so interesting.
So even when you're reading for pleasure, you can be honing your writing skills at the same time.
Right.
Just be mindful, right, of the techniques that are being used
Right.
and how they're impacting you as a reader.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got that foundation, right, with the basics, and we've explored the power of reading. But let's face it, writing can be kind of a daunting task,
It can be. Yeah.
especially when you're just staring at that blank page. You're like, where do I even begin?
Yeah. It can be really intimidating for sure.
You're right, and a lot of sources highlight this.
Yeah.
The importance of practice.
Yes.
Even if it's just like journaling or writing for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The more you write, the more comfortable you'll become.
Right.
It's like any other skill.
Yeah. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
It's like working a muscle.
Yeah.
You don't need to run a marathon on day one.
Exactly. Yeah.
But consistent effort over time, that's key.
Yeah. And one of the articles also talks about the benefits of having a writing partner.
Oh, interesting.
So this could be someone that you trust to kind of, give you feedback and help you catch those little mistakes, keep you motivated.
I bet a lot of people already have a writing partner and they don't even realize it.
Probably, yeah.
You know? It could be a friend, a colleague, someone in an online community.
Right.
Reach out, offer to swap pieces of writing. You both get feedback, you get support, fresh perspectives.
Yeah. And if you're a student too, don't forget about amazing resources like writing centers and workshops.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They can be so helpful for connecting with other writers and just getting constructive feedback.
Okay, so we've talked about practicing, getting that feedback. But what about those dreaded first drafts? Even with all that practice and that feedback, they can still be a struggle.
Oh, they definitely can. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, ugh. Here's a little secret from our sources.
Okay.
Even experienced writers, they produce rough first drafts.
So for sure.
Don't let that myth of like the perfect first draft hold you back.
Right.
It's totally normal to struggle, revise.
Yeah.
In fact, I think the real magic happens in that editing and revising process.
I think so too.
Yeah.
You know,
It's where the real work gets done.
it is. I used to agonize over every sentence,
Oh, yeah.
like trying to make it perfect from the get-go.
It would take me forever to get anything done.
I know, me too.
So it's so reassuring to hear that even like seasoned writers, they don't expect perfection on that first try.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's interesting too is that a lot of sources talk about the importance of finding a good editor.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And a good editor doesn't just point out errors.
Yeah.
They help you understand why something isn't working,
Yeah.
which helps you become a better writer over time.
I had an editor once who was brutally honest.
Oh, wow.
It was so tough to take at first.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, their feedback,
Yeah.
it helped me grow so much.
I bet.
It's like having a coach who pushes you to be your best, right?
It is.
That's what a good editor can do.
Yeah. They can really help you see your work in a new light.
Finding an editor is a fantastic investment if you have the resources.
For sure.
And remember, it doesn't have to be like a professional. You can start by asking like a trusted friend or a
Right.
colleague
Right. Exactly.
just for some feedback.
Yeah. Sometimes just having a fresh pair of eyes on your work can make all the difference. So, welcome back.
Oh, yeah. Welcome back.
Excited to keep going on this deep dive into how to improve, your writing in English.
Yeah, it's been fun.
Yeah. And before the break, we talked about a lot of great strategies for strengthening like those core writing skills. But now I kind of want to dive into some specific techniques that can really help you elevate your writing and make it, more impactful.
I'm all ears. I think for me, one of the biggest challenges is how to convey complex ideas in a way that's like clear and engaging. It's really easy to get lost in the weeds,
Yeah.
Especially when you're dealing with like technical or specialized topics.
You're so right. And you've hit on something really important. And actually, one of the sources, they offer this really great framework for achieving that clarity and engagement. They call it the inverted pyramid structure.
The inverted pyramid structure. Interesting.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah. So it's a technique that's often used in journalism, but it can be super effective for, really any type of writing where you need to convey information clearly and efficiently.
Okay.
So essentially, you start with the most important information, like the key takeaway, the main point,
Okay.
and then you gradually provide more details and context as you go along.
So instead of like building up to the main point, you start with the punchline.
Exactly,
Right,
yeah.
okay.
Like, think about it like a news article.
Okay.
You know, you get the headline, it gives you the gist of the story, and then you read on for more details if you want.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to kind of keep your reader engaged and make sure they get, the most important information right up front.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It's like giving the reader a roadmap before they even set out on the journey of like reading your writing.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it can also be really helpful, for overcoming writer's block.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you're struggling to get started, try writing the main point first
Okay.
and then kind of work backwards. Like, add details, supporting information as you go.
I love that. That's such a practical and effective like way to approach any type of writing.
Another strategy that our sources kind of highlighted is the use of storytelling.
Okay.
And they really emphasize how powerful storytelling can be for making your writing more engaging and memorable and even persuasive.
Storytelling. I always thought that was more for like, fiction writers or screenwriters. How does that apply to like nonfiction writing?
That's a great question. And actually, storytelling isn't just about, crafting elaborate plots or creating fictional worlds. It's really about connecting with your reader on like an emotional level.
Okay.
Drawing them in with like relatable experiences, vivid descriptions. Like, think about it this way. Even in like a factual report or a technical document, you can still use storytelling to make your points more impactful.
So instead of just presenting like dry facts and figures, you're weaving them into a narrative.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
You're creating a journey for your reader,
It's like the difference between reading a textbook and listening to like a friend tell you a captivating story.
Exactly. Yeah. That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And remember, storytelling isn't just about entertainment,
Okay.
It can also be incredibly persuasive.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, like when you tell a story, you're inviting the reader to see the world from your perspective, to kind of experience your emotions, and to ultimately, be persuaded by your point of view.
It's true. Storytelling is just such a fundamental part of how we communicate as humans.
Okay, so want to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about humor.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the sources talk about how humor can be, really powerful.
I love a good laugh. And I really appreciate writers who can like infuse humor into their work.
Yeah, me too.
But it's a tricky balance, right?
It is, yeah.
You don't want to force it or come across as trying too hard.
You're so right. Humor is a delicate art. And it's definitely important to use it, like, judiciously.
Yeah.
But when it's done well, it can really elevate your writing, make it more enjoyable for your readers.
One of the sources suggests that humor can be especially effective for, like, breaking up long blocks of text.
Oh, for sure. Right.
Making complex topics more digestible, creating a sense of connection with your reader.
Exactly, yeah. Like, think about it. When you share a laugh with someone, you're creating, like, a bond.
Yeah.
A sense of shared understanding.
It's like an inside joke. It's a way of saying we get each other.
Exactly. And even in like formal writing, a well-placed, touch of humor can just make your writing feel so much more human, approachable.
One of the articles cautions against using humor that's, overly sarcastic, mean-spirited, or offensive. It's important to be mindful of your audience and to make sure like your humor is appropriate for the context.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
Humor should always be used responsibly.
So how do you know when it's appropriate to use humor?
That's a tough one. It really depends, It depends on the context, your audience, your own personal style.
Yeah.
But, here are a few things to consider.
Okay.
First, ask yourself, is humor actually appropriate for this topic?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, if you're writing about something really serious or sensitive,
Right.
humor might not be the best choice.
You don't want to undermine the gravity of the topic or come across as insensitive.
Exactly, yeah. And second, consider your audience.
Right.
Like, what kind of humor do they appreciate? What are their sensitivities?
That's a good point.
It's important to tailor your humor, to your target readers.
Humor is so subjective. Like, what one person thinks is funny, another might find offensive.
Totally.
Yeah.
So true. And finally, trust your instincts.
Yeah.
If you're not sure if, like, a particular joke or humorous anecdote is appropriate, just err on the side of caution.
When in doubt, leave it out. All right. So we're back. and ready for this last part of our deep dive into better writing.
I know, right? We've covered so much already.
We have. It's been really fascinating.
Yeah.
But, we teased that little Hemingway 6-word story, like right at the beginning.
We did.
I've been, holding my breath this whole time.
I know. The anticipation has been building.
I know. So are you ready to finally reveal it?
I am. So here it is. The 6-word story attributed to Hemingway is for sale, baby shoes, never worn.
I know it was coming, but wow.
Eh.
It's like those 6 words pack such a punch. The story they tell, without really telling it, is just heartbreaking, right?
It really is. It's amazing how such a simple sentence can evoke so much emotion, so much unspoken narrative.
It's a masterclass in being concise.
It really is. It
Right.
perfectly illustrates that idea we talked about earlier. Streamlining your writing, making every single word count.
Yeah, you don't need a whole lot of words to make an impact.
Not at all. It's about choosing those words carefully and leaving space for the reader, let them fill in the blanks. Let them connect emotionally with the story that you're hinting at.
And that's not just for 6-word stories,
Right.
I mean, whatever you're working on, whether it's an email, a report, or a novel, every single word should serve a purpose.
Exactly. Actually, one of the sources suggests this really cool exercise.
Okay.
They call it word purging.
Word purging.
Yeah, so basically you take a piece of your writing, go through it line by line, even word by word, and just ask yourself, does this word really add value? Does it make my writing stronger? And if the answer is no, you just get rid of it.
It's like decluttering.
It is. It's decluttering your writing, creating space for the truly meaningful words to shine through.
I love that. All right. So we've talked about Hemingway, conciseness, word purging. What else did our sources have for us? What other tips and tricks can we find?
Well, one source, they had this really interesting tip about reading. It's not just about reading for pleasure, but reading with an analytical eye.
Reading with an analytical eye. Okay.
Yes, so they suggest, pick a piece of writing that you really admire.
Okay.
Could be anything, an article, an essay, a short story, whatever speaks to you. And then really dissect it.
Dissect it like a frog in biology class.
Well, maybe not that intense.
Okay.
But, you have to just break it down, look at the structure of the sentences, the words they use, the pacing, how they used imagery, metaphors.
So it's like going beyond just enjoying the story and really trying to understand the craft.
Exactly. It's like you're taking a car apart to see how all the pieces work together.
Right, yeah.
And once you understand the mechanics, you can start applying those principles to your own writing.
It's like learning from the masters, But going a step further, it's not just imitating them. It's understanding, the choices they made and why.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's like having a backstage pass to the creative process.
It is. And, one of the sources actually suggests keeping a journal specifically for writing down interesting writing techniques that you come across.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, it's like building your toolbox.
Yeah.
Fill it with all these literary devices and stylistic techniques,
Right.
and then you can pull them out whenever you need them.
It's like having all the right spices in your kitchen.
Yeah.
So we have covered a lot of ground here. Mastering the basics, finding your voice, streamlining your writing, being okay with things not being perfect, the power of feedback and having a community, and, oh yeah, the magic of storytelling.
We did. We talked about humor, figurative language, and even how important just the way you format things can be.
It's a lot. But I feel like I have so many more tools now to really improve my writing.
I hope so. And remember, it's all about practice and finding what works for you, what fits your style.
I think a big takeaway for me is that becoming a better writer, it's like a journey, not a destination. Right?
Absolutely.
It's not about reaching some level of perfection. It's just about getting better all the time and enjoying the process.
Exactly. Learning from mistakes, experimenting with new things. Find that unique voice that makes your writing stand out.
And that's what it's all about. So a huge thank you to all of you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it helpful and, maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Yeah, and just remember, the most important thing is to keep writing, keep learning, keep sharing your voice with the world.
Because the world needs to hear what you have to say.
It does.
So get out there and write with confidence, with passion, and with a little bit of, a twinkle in your eye. Until next time, happy writing, everyone.